The roar of motorcycles echoed down the narrow street in Fresno, California, just as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange. A group of bikers rolled slowly past rundown apartment buildings, their leather jackets worn but proud, engines humming like a warning and a promise at the same time. They weren't looking for trouble that evening. They were just riding, letting the day fade away. That's when a small figure stepped forward from the sidewalk, holding a pink bicycle almost bigger than she was, her eyes wide with fear and hope. "Buy my bike, sir, please," the little girl said, her voice trembling as she stood in front of the lead biker. He braked hard, boots scraping the asphalt. The other bikers stopped behind him, confused and alert. The girl couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Her clothes were clean but thin, and her shoes were worn at the toes. She gripped the bicycle like it was her last shield against the world, her knuckles white. The biker leaned down, removing his helmet. His name was Jack Turner, a former Marine who had seen too much of life to ignore pain when it stood right in front of him. "Why are you selling your bike, sweetheart?" he asked gently. The girl swallowed hard, tears pooling in her eyes. "Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days," she whispered. "She says she's not hungry, but I know she's lying. I just want to buy her food." The street fell silent. Even the other bikers removed their helmets, something unspoken passing between them. Jack glanced at the bike. It was scratched, the paint chipped, but it was clearly loved. "Where's your mom?" he asked. The girl pointed toward a cracked apartment building across the street. "Up there. She's sick," she said softly. "Please, sir. I don't need the bike. Mommy needs food." Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out some cash, pressing it into the girl's hand. "You keep your bike," he said firmly. "We'll help." The girl looked confused, then relieved, but something in her eyes still carried fear. "They might come back," she said quietly. Jack frowned. "Who might come back?" The girl hesitated, then shook her head. "I shouldn't say," she murmured. That answer didn't sit right with Jack or the others. One of the bikers, Mike, stepped forward. "Kid, did someone hurt your mom?" he asked. The girl's lips trembled. "They took everything," she said. "The men in suits. They said Mommy owed money. They took our TV, our fridge, even Daddy's tools." Her voice cracked when she said, "Daddy," and Jack felt a knot tighten in his chest. They walked her upstairs, their heavy boots echoing through the dim stairwell. Inside the apartment, the air was stale and empty. A woman lay on a thin mattress on the floor, pale and weak, her eyes widening in fear when she saw the bikers. "Please," she said, trying to sit up. "If you're here about the money, I don't have anything left." Jack quickly raised his hands. "Ma'am, we're not here to hurt you." The woman's name was Sarah Miller. She explained in a broken voice that her husband had died 2 years earlier in a construction accident. The insurance company delayed payment, then denied most of it. Medical bills piled up after she got sick. A private loan company stepped in, promising help, then crushed her with impossible interest. When she couldn't pay, they sent collectors who stripped her home bare, leaving her and her daughter with nothing but shame and hunger. Jack's jaw tightened as he listened. He'd seen this before, predatory lenders hiding behind legal paperwork, destroying families without lifting a fist. "Did they threaten you?" he asked. Sarah nodded slowly. "They said if I talked, it would get worse," she whispered. "I was just trying to protect my daughter." The little girl climbed onto the mattress beside her mother, holding her hand like an anchor. The bikers didn't say much after that. They left quietly, but their engines roared louder than before. These weren't just riders, they were men who lived by a code. They pooled money, filled their saddlebags with groceries, medicine, and blankets, and returned within an hour. Sarah broke down crying when she saw the food. "I don't know how to thank you," she sobbed. Jack shook his head. "You already did by surviving." But they weren't done. Over the next few days, the bikers dug deeper. Mike had a cousin who worked in legal aid. Another biker knew a journalist in Sacramento who loved exposing corporate abuse. They tracked the loan company, uncovering dozens of similar cases: widows, veterans, single parents, all crushed the same way. What they found wasn't just greed, it was systematic theft, protected by silence and fear. The story broke a week later. Headlines spread across local news: predatory lender targets vulnerable families. Investigations followed. Assets were frozen. Charges were filed. The collectors who had emptied Sarah's apartment were suddenly facing courtrooms instead of doorsteps. When a reporter asked Jack why he got involved, he simply said, "A little girl tried to sell her bike so her mom could eat. That should never happen in this country." Community support poured in. Donations helped Sarah pay medical bills. Volunteers furnished her apartment. A local contractor offered her a job once she recovered. The little girl got her bike back, fixed, polished, and painted brighter pink than before. When she rode it down the street for the first time in months, the bikers stood nearby, pretending not to wipe their eyes. Months later, Jack rode past the same street again. The apartment windows were lit, warm and alive. He saw the girl wave as she pedaled by, laughing, her mother watching from the doorway. In that moment, Jack realized something powerful. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive in a courtroom first. Sometimes it arrives on two wheels, wearing leather, stopping when a child dares to ask for help. And that street never forgot the day a little girl said, "Buy my bike, sir," and reminded everyone what humanity is supposed to sound like.